Hey David, it's so nice to have you on the show today. How are you doing?
I am great, Elisha. How are you this morning?
Doing quite fine. And, just like I mentioned earlier, thank you so very much for being here. I truly appreciate it. And you see, David, hmm, oftentimes I love to thank my guest for two things. And I do this so often to the point where it has become my anthem. So, firstly, David, I want to say thank you for investing in yourself. You see, you are on this platform right now because you invested in yourself. And oftentimes I love to make reference to the amazing mango tree. You see, David, some months back, I was on a particular road, and just by the roadside, there was this tall, unattractive mango tree. And I use the word unattractive because the mango tree's got no mangoes on it, and the leaves were all dry. So I just walked past it and I went my way. But you see, David, just recently I was on that same road, and this time around a lot's changed about the mango tree. You see, the mango tree caught my attention pretty good from a distance, and immediately I got the urge to move so close to it, of which I did, and it wowed me because now the mango tree's got a lot of mangoes on it, beautiful green leaves and healthy branches. It was a beautiful moment that day, a special one at that. I was so excited. Here is my point. The fact that you dedicated your time, energy, and resources to becoming the amazing David that you are today, that alone has made it really impossible for me to skip you. And that's why you see you got the request for me to be on the show because I was attracted to the fruit of all that you're doing, your impact, your philosophies, your insight, and your solution, and how you're offering your solution. It's amazing. So thank you so very much for investing in yourself, and thank you for being here. I truly appreciate it, my man. Thank you.
Thank
That's
you, Elisha. I'm excited for our conversation.
beautiful. So let's get started. You see, I'm quite excited to have you on the show today for some reasons. Firstly, my interest in knowledge seeking. I believe in order for one to transition from a terrible situation to that of a beautiful one, I believe it takes the application of knowledge, quality information, and not just knowledge now, but the application of it. And you say, David, ever since I discovered that light in the Hebrew means knowledge and darkness means ignorance, I've been so keen to knowledge seeking because I do not want to remain in the dark. So that's going to make our conversation today very, very important to me and even to the listeners. The second reason why I'm excited to have the amazing David on the show is for the sake of the listeners. They say, David, we live in an age where information is as abundant as grains of sand. We've got lots of information flying out there. So these folks trust me for quality, eye-opening, and very important information, of which I am totally convinced that our conversation is going to be insightful and impactful. So for that reason, David, let's get started with your introduction. Talk to us about your personal or professional journey. Because right now, we are just so curious. We want to know how David got here. And afterwards, I've got some beautiful questions for you. Okay, David, over to you.
Thank you, Elisha. Journey is the right word. Journey is the word I like to use because for me it doesn't ever end. Several years ago, I'm now 45. I had an interaction with the company I worked with where I was faced with the fact that I had been in a situation with my retirement finances where I had no idea what was happening with them, and that just became abundantly clear one day when I was looking into my company retirement plan. I had all this money sitting not doing anything, and I realized I didn't really know much about finances. And so that started a year-long journey of just teaching myself about finances. But the more important part of that was I came to the realization that I was capable of doing better. I was capable of learning these things if I wanted to. I was capable of teaching myself things I didn't know that I thought were previously outside of my reach. And it sparked this journey to find out, well, what all can I do? How far can I go? And so it started with little things. I started making small changes, like going for walks on my lunch break because I worked in a computer desk all day. So I started walking on my lunch break to get more movement into my life, right? And then I started making the change from listening to music to listening to audiobooks to teach myself things while I was walking. I started having this compounding effect in my life just based on the fact that I found out that I was capable of learning and teaching myself things, even though I was pretty far along in my career at that point, even though, I don't know if you want to call it midlife or whatever, right? I was in that position where most people stop thinking they can learn new things and stop thinking they can grow. And I found out that was the furthest thing from the truth, and has just started this fantastic journey for me of discovery and new ideas and this fascination with, well, I've been holding myself back. That's all on me. I've been holding myself back. I can do so much more. I can reach so much more. I can live my life fuller. And so that's where this all just jumped off.
Amazing. And I can relate so well. You see, the day I also discovered that I am expected to be accountable for my life and take responsibility for my life and not push blames to anyone, but I have the responsibility to become who I needed to become. And it's all on me. You see, when I discovered that truth, it helped me greatly. So I understand. That's a beautiful word, and thank you for sharing that with us. So the first question would be, let us talk about from this pain point. Now, from the perspective of someone who is never satisfied, and it says, hey, David, why am I never satisfied? What would your response be?
I would say you're blessed that you're never satisfied, because that too often it's just the opposite. We become complacent because we're easily satisfied. We feed ourselves with little things that don't actually make a huge impact in our lives. Little things. We're big into accomplishment. We're hardwired for accomplishment. I'm a men's coach. I talk to everybody. Predominantly, my audience is usually male, and especially men in particular are hardwired towards accomplishment and goal. Women are too, but not to the extent where men find their identity in that. And so, since we're hardwired for that, we need to feel that in almost a desperate sense. But a lot of men tend to feel that with very hollow pursuits, right? We got to do this, and we got to. I had a friend, one of my best friends, really had a lot to do with me getting started in this field of personal development, and he was a workaholic. And I was trying to convince him there was just more to him than that he had more value than that. But that's where he sated that himself is, well, I'm a good employee and I work really hard and I've climbed the corporate ladder. It's like we fill ourselves with those accomplishments because we feel like we have to do that, right? That's just ingrained. But when you move to the point where you're not ever satisfied, that's because you're starting to see that there's more. You're capable more. There's bigger things out there for you. There's bigger accomplishments. There's more fulfilling accomplishments. You no longer are just accepting the mediocre as something that satiates you. So for someone who's not satisfied, I say, hey, congratulations, you're on the right path. You may not have figured out every step along the way yet, but you're starting down the right path because you're no longer satisfied with just the daily do this and that's what your world is.
That's so true. And I love how you shared that. You made it quite easy to understand. Okay, so you said you mainly focus on men, all right? Let us talk about fathers now. So, why are fathers crucial?
So I always get myself in trouble when I talk about this. So let me just, anybody listening, that is no disrespect to mothers. Mothers have a crucial role just like fathers do.
Oh, yeah.
Just a lot of times in society, the father's role is undervalued. So both roles are very crucial, but we can look at statistics. I don't know about you, Elisha. I'm a statistics guy, right? Numbers are a big thing. My head works on ones and zeros. And so you can very quickly do the research and find out a lot of the world's biggest problems right now stem from children without a positive male role model in their life, whether that's a father or just having an uncle or somebody in their life, a positive male role model, and especially in those early years. Statistically, we know that most people who end up in a criminal life come from homes where the father was absentee, not there at all, like no father, or was abusive or neglectful. Statistically, we know that that increases the likelihood of drug use. It increases the likelihood of dropping out of school. It increases the likelihood of actual, like, emotional and mental, like, diagnosable mental disorders. It increases the likelihood of early childhood teen pregnancy. It increases the likelihood of children acting out, right? All these things that start as a negative basis in society, the majority of them can be tied back to fathers who weren't there, either like they just weren't there, or they were absentee fathers who just tuned in out of the world and weren't really part of the children's lives. And so that's just the first reason. I think we can solve a lot of problems by getting active, engaged fathers back in the home, right? And I understand divorces happen. I have several friends who are divorced, right? But all of them still actively, intentionally do everything they can, even when their ex makes it difficult. All of them intentionally spend all of their energy that they can to be a good father and to be there for their child, and make sure their child knows they're loved and that they're always there for them no matter what, right? A divorce doesn't take the father out of it, so it just makes it more difficult for the dad. But so much rides on that positive male influence early on. Boys develop a sense of purpose, of how they're supposed to act. Girls develop a sense of value based on a father's interaction. And so we could talk for hours just on this one thing, but that is just the basis. I think by fixing the lack of positive male role models in children's lives, especially fathers, that we can resolve a lot of issues that are plaguing society and the world at large.
Tell you, David, a whole lot will be resolved. And back then in high school, many of my folks like that who became pretty wayward, I discovered that many of them lack this fatherly figure, and they just made decisions and do things anyhow. I got that. Okay, so still on that, all right. For a man now who would love to connect with his wife even more deeply and better, how can he go about it?
You don't like easy questions, do you? That's good. Now I prefer some. I prefer real questions. This is one of those things, like Freud died still trying to figure out what women wanted, right? This is something that one of the great psychologists of our time was still struggling with. But it's really not that hard. We overcomplicate things. And I think that's why Freud struggled with it, was we overcomplicate things. Now, the absolute truth is your wife wants your 100% undivided attention, listening to what she is saying, doing what she wants to do. Like that's the simplest answer. That is what she wants more than anything else you ever will give her, is your 100% undivided attention, focused on what she wants to focus on, doing what she wants to do with her, right? That's a very basic need, but that is truly what she wants. To connect with her, you have to go a step beyond that. And the book I recommend to almost everybody I meet is The 5 Love Languages by Dr. Gary Chapman. I think I just cited that right. Because one of the things that keeps us from connecting deeply with our spouses is everybody's default way of trying to express affection and attention to somebody is based on your love language. There are predominantly 5 love languages, but it's based on your love language, how you would like love to be expressed to you, right? And frequently in a relationship, you didn't marry somebody who is exactly like you and doesn't exactly have the same emotional needs that you do. And so, like, I'll give you a great example. My wife's primary love language is words of affirmation, right? She wants to be told she's beautiful, she's amazing, she's brilliant, she's doing great things, she's a great mother, that I appreciate what she's doing, right? She wants that verbal affirmation. Whereas that's the furthest thing from my mind personally. Like, my love language, that's the bottom of my list. I couldn't care less. I don't need somebody to tell me I've done a good job or that to affirm what I'm doing. I don't care. I have a obscenely driven confidence that just doesn't need that. So it's a lot of work. I have to actively think about what my wife needs from me, because that's not my native way of communicating with her or communicating affection towards her. And so, we know what our wives really want. We also know that's not 100% something we could do all the time. But if you learn to recognize how she understands and receives affection, you will connect with her at a much deeper level.
What a great explainer you are. Oh boy, you just opened my eyes to something beautiful. And I'm definitely practicing this. Okay, David, my man, to bring this to an end, how would you like to leave the audience with like a final thought? And to those folks who would like to reach out to you, learn more about everything we've discussed, or even ask you questions, how can that be possible?
As a final thought, very simply, you absolutely can achieve the things you want to achieve in your life. When you start to align with your purpose and who you are and start making incremental steps every day, little choices, stacking on little choices, every decision is an opportunity for you to move forward. So start making those little choices and aligning with that purpose, and you will achieve far more than you ever thought possible. The easiest place to connect with me is my website, purposedrivenmen.com. It's a new site. We've only been up on that one for a couple months. I rebuilt my website this year. And so purposedrivenmen.com is the easiest place. You can sign up for my newsletter. We've got blog posts. We have reviews. We have my podcast, the Driven to Thrive broadcast. And that's the easiest place to connect with me.
Beautiful. And you just gained a new listener. I'm heading right there right now. So that's going to be the end of the show, David. Thank you for coming and thank you for sharing this beautiful stuff with us. You see, I get excited when I learn new things. And right now, I am excited. Thank you so much, my man.
Elisha, thank you for having me on, man.